Hello everybody, it is Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc-V Manga scale review. I am joined as always by RarityFanGirl, so big thank you to her for coming on. And before we get into it, we asked you guys a question last week, and that is what you are probably seeing on screen right now. Thank you to everyone who answered. We had some good answers. A lot of people agreed with what Rarity had to say about who the assassins might be. It doesn't look like they're gonna go that route. I say might, and it doesn't look that way because we really don't know, but if anything, we thought this scale 19 would have maybe implicated that we did get introduced to a new character working for the villains, you could say, or at least we got his name, but it doesn't look like there's going to be a set of new assassins or characters that we'll see. But we'll see. I mean, that might happen in the next scale. Who really knows? But anyway, we're going to get right into it. I'll give my thoughts, and we'll ask a question at the end, so hopefully you guys will stay tuned for that and answer that question as well. Rarity will give her thoughts as well, and we want to hear from you guys. The link to this scale, if you want to read it for yourself, is right down below in the description. We're recording this Friday night. It will be out Monday when the English version comes out, so hopefully you guys do check it out, because it was, generally speaking, an enjoyable scale. I liked it a lot. I know Rarity liked it. Rarity has called it her favorite scale, but she'll talk about that. So it starts with, as we know, the Reiji and Yugioh duel concluded scale 18. There was no duel in this scale, but it wasn't lackluster, and I know a lot of people will say, what can Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is at its best when it's able to perform well without duels, because the duels are kind of always a given, and so this was one of those scales that really kind of emphasized that, because it was a very enjoyable scale, and it was just a big chapter for character backstory and character development, and that's what we got, especially from the villain crew. But it starts with Shingo and Shun looking for Akiba Reiji, and they run into Yuzu, and they have a very funny interaction scene. Yuzu at one point calls them Akiba Reiji's lackeys, and I thought that was funny. It's just because they're so contrasting characters. You have Shingo, who really is a clown, and then you have Shun, who is just this serious, badass character. And so I just love how Yuzu kind of just puts them all into one category and just calls them both lackeys. They go at it a bit. Her and Shingo have a little bit of tension, and that was one of the best parts of the scale. They say, oh, well, we heard some kids talking about a phantom ghost or something along those lines by the sewers. And so Yuzu leaves, and Yuzu knew where Akiba Reiji was. So they basically exchanged information, because Yuzu said Reiji was at the airport. So Reiji, I guess, is flying out of the country. Who really knows? But Shun and Shingo go for answers. They go to Reiji's headquarters. And the door is locked, and Kurosaki Shun summons one of the Raid Raptor Falcons and just blows up the door. No big deal. And I mean, that was those two scenes, the Yuzu one and that one, two of my favorite scenes in the entire scale. So they go in. Shingo is able to steal Reiji's fingerprints. Reiji's fingerprints from Sora. So they were able to get into the main room, and that's pretty much all we see from them. And then we go to actually, we don't go to the antagonist, we go to Yuzu, and Yuzu goes to the sewers and talks to the kids, and they say, oh yeah, we've been hearing weird noises coming from the sewers. And we go down there, and Yuya is training with Yugioh, learning how to ride a D-wheel, which is kind of, the only U-boys we've never seen ride a D-wheel are Yuto and Yuri, so it makes perfect sense that it's Yuya and Yugioh training. And Yuzu goes down there, and she starts talking to Yuya. She gets splashed with water, and she starts talking to Yuya. And it's interesting because she makes a very good point, and she's like, well, if you guys can just switch bodies, why don't you just let Yugioh switch bodies whenever you need to have a riding duel? And Yuya's like, people are coming for me on the D-wheel, so I have to learn how to ride it. And Yuya's like, yeah, I guess that's not really a bad theory. And he's like, oh, I can't slack off anymore. I gotta get back to training. Pretty much indicating that Yugioh knows a lot more about what's happening than Yuya does. And then we have a brief interaction between Yugioh, Yuri, and Yuto, the other three U-boys. And they're just talking, and they're basically like, yeah, why are you, training Yuya so vigorously and so, vigorously, that's a good word to use. And, they're basically, and Yugioh just goes, look, the Adams factor, or actually Yuri makes that point, but he's like, sometimes I fade in and out of consciousness. It's happening more and more. I think my lifeline is starting to fade away. And then Yuri kind of theorizes that as the Adams factor gets stronger within Yuya, they're kind of getting killed off, if that's the right term. They're kind of fading away. So something like that. So that'll be interesting to get your thoughts on that, Rarity, and to get people in the comments below. Then we go to the Sora, Ren, Eve, and we get introduced to this Dr. Isaac, who is a very highly respected doctor by Eve. And Isaac basically says something along the lines of, I don't consider myself a good doctor. So many times I was unable to save you. And Eve says something very interesting, and Eve is just like, we've repeated our lives so many times. No matter what happens, we're always going to be tied to our first memories. Me, Ren, and even Sora. So Sora, according to Eve, has been with them since the very beginning, since all this time traveling. And I'm going to wrap up my synopsis and then I'll give it to Rarity, but who this reminds me so much of? It just reminds me a lot of Iliaster. And Eve reminds me a lot of Zone, being in that machine and being very calm and from the future. And Sora reminds me a little bit of Sherry. Not saying that Sora is going to defect like Sherry or Sora kind of started out as a good character, but in the sense that Sora's main motivation seems to be family-based. It seems to be based around his sister. He says, I'll do anything to save you, sister, which is kind of similar to what happened with Sherry, with her father in 5Ds, and her father and her mother, really, that both got killed off, and Zone said, I can bring them back. So, just a lot of similarities, and maybe Ren you could compare to an Aporia or something along those lines, and Isaac, maybe a Bruna, I don't know. But it's just interesting that there were 4 members of Iliaster, and initially seems to be 4 members. One is in a machine, and seems to be very calm and the commander of everything, who is sick, and that was Eve, very similar to Zone. Sora and Sherry share the, even though I guess Sherry wasn't an immediate member of Iliaster, I guess that was Paradox, but by the end of it, she had kind of replaced Paradox. So I just think it's, even the gender, 3 males and 1 female, very, very similar instances there. I don't know if I was the only one that kind of made that comparison, but
I kind of did.
I'm sure a few people did.
Did Yoshio write the final arc of 5Ds?
He did. He did, yes.
So maybe that's why it's like, you know what, people love our villains in there, so let's bring back a different version and put in Bible references.
That could be it. Right.
Not that I'm complaining.
Yeah, no, I'm not complaining either, but it's a very interesting comparison. So that's pretty much my thoughts on it. That's not really my thoughts, but just a quick overview of it. I enjoyed the scale. Rarity, what are your thoughts? I know you have a lot to say about this one.
I do, and I love this chapter. As I've said before, my favorite types of arc, or any Yu-Gi-Oh, is when they're not dueling. I love dueling, I've said this before, but I just like to see what they do without it, and just focus on the character interaction, because I really like Yu-Gi-Oh! For the characters. I'm sure I played the card game and I like the cards, but I really just like what these characters are going through in situations. So I'm gonna start chronologically, as I always do. It was really interesting we had a time skip. It's been about 2 weeks since the Yu and Reiji duel, which I was not expecting a time skip. It just kind of came out of nowhere, because I was wondering, wait, because when we got the Raw, I was like, wait a second, why is Yuya training? Isn't he supposed to be sulking? Like, what is this? Yu goes back? Okay, well, where's the scene where he wakes up? So having a time skip kind of gives them saving page time, which is kind of nice to get the plot moving forward. The Shingo, Shun, Yuzu interaction was amazing. They were calling lackeys. It's just great to see Shingo and Yuzu going at it, because we haven't really seen them since the early days of Arc-V, like episode 7. So it's just nice. And it's nice to see more Shingo and Shun, because I really like those two together. We really only saw them in the anime, kind of like when they were breaking out of prison, really just solo interacting with each other. And the manga is giving them just like a lot more of a relationship. I know all the people who like parrot shipping are gonna love that. That is the Shingo and Shun ship. I don't ship it, but I think they're fun interactions. So I really like that aspect. I like the exchange situations. Also, I love now Reiji has a sports car, because earlier he had a freaking motorcycle. What is he, Kaiba? Because Kaiba had a sports car in season 4. I just think that's amazing. I mean, Hirakuma Reiji's rich, so I guess a sports car is cooler than a freaking limo, but whatever. So I love that Shun freaking just destroyed the wall. And then the faces in this chapter with Shingo and Shun, they got the best faces. They were hilarious. And then Shingo just being Shingo and stealing the gloves from Sora's room, because he was cleaning it. I also love that Shingo was getting, like, because Shun was like, oh, you're actually worried about Sora? He's like, no, because Sora stole money from me in order to get candy, and I need my money back.
That was a good line.
That was a good line. That's gonna be fun. So I really, really enjoyed that aspect, and I liked that they got in, and then Reiji's going to this airport, apparently about this space exploration center, which is apparently out of the country. I don't know what space has to do with this. I don't know if we're gonna have another moon duel where someone dies on the moon. Probably not, but it'd be funny if, like, Yuto died on the moon because of the Kaito reference. But anyway, I think that would be interesting. So maybe we're not gonna see Reiji for a while, which I say is fine. We just got, like, 5 chapters of Reiji, and he is the cover of Volume 3, and his monster is getting the promo. So just would be nice to get a little break from Reiji, because I think we've had a lot of him. And, like, like in the anime, we have these periods where we see a lot of Reiji and then we don't see him. So I guess the manga is going to continue that trend. Moving on to Yuzu and the U-Boys. I love, number one, that Yuya is writing the duel. I like that he is actually, you know, getting more active and, like, not sulking around forever. Like, anime Yuya would probably be a lot more depressed about this. I mean, it's been 2 weeks, and plus Yuya's got, like, a 3-character support basis with him at all times, so I expected him not to sulk forever, but it is nice he's training. And once again, Yuya is oblivious to everything because the U-boys don't want to hurt his feelings. I just can't wait to get to the point where all this lying is gonna build up and blow up in the other U-boys' faces. Because Yuya's been lied to a lot. He just doesn't know what's going on unless it just happens to happen while he's there. And, also the nice 5Ds reference with, Yuzu getting splashed like Aki did. That was a very cool reference. It was also just nice to see Yugo smiling. I'm sorry, because he hasn't really smiled in this manga that much. So see, the one panel of him smiling adorably made me happy. And Yugi's like, oh, I'm gonna make you super proud, Yugo. It was so cute! But Yugo shattered the memory of their childhood because he probably doesn't remember. Like, it'd be funny if he would say, like, if he remembered, oh, you're cheering me on, huh? For once, it'd be funny if he said that, but of course he doesn't remember because Yugo destroyed the memories in Scale 13. So he doesn't remember the past, I assume. And the whole, now let's get to the big part about this. The U-boys dying, in quotations. Oh no. And I thought the manga couldn't get any angstier.
Well, let me just really quickly, and I hate interrupting, but let me just say this. The manga, which says more about the anime than anything else, has the chance to have more powerful, impactful scenes than the anime does in terms of death scenes.
It does,
which has never even it's not even remotely thinkable, but that's just how
I think it is going to happen.
It very well could.
I mean, if we saw the Yugo scene in 13, in which I adapted, as you guys know, and that scene was powerful, especially with my adaptation. PG Crew, my voice of Yugo, I just love shouting out to you. You do such a good Yugo, and your acting was incredible, and you made me tear up so much during recording, and during editing, I mean. Anyway, I think that is very possible. I think that they're gonna slowly... I don't think they're gonna start fading yet. It's a little too early. It'd be kind of abruptly like, oh, Yugo disappears after whatever the next duel is gonna be. Like this Ren and Yuya duel, which... They are... It seems like the manga is not going for any filler, which I don't mind. I kind of like them going to the plots. Maybe there's a lot more hidden later, which I really like. And I'm sad to say that Yugo might go first because he's the one who seems to be taking charge of everything. And as you know, the guy who does all the stuff usually gets killed off first. And plus, we already know Yugo's backstory. So I don't think they would get rid of Yuto or Yuri without knowing their past with Yuya. Because then their emotional scenes wouldn't be as powerful. Because to me, I feel like the only one who has an actual bond with Yuya is Yugo. Because he's the only one who showed any real emotion. I know Yuto and Yuri aren't the most emotional characters. I mean, Yuri's yelled, sure, but Yuto hasn't really shown much of emotions, I guess, aside from a concern. But that's just me. But I really think it's heartwarming to say, like, oh, before I go, I want to teach Yuya everything I can. I'm tearing up just thinking about what's gonna happen. I know I'm a U-boy fangirl, especially a Yugo fangirl, but it's just so sad to think about. But I'm gonna get away from that angst for a bit because I don't want to start crying during this review. Okay, Ren and Sora, I guess Sora just got caught up. I kind of like that Sora's a little bit confused about, like, Ren seems to be really in a rush. And it turns out Eve has an illness, so maybe that's why he's like, I don't want to see Lady Eve getting hurt anymore. Like, I want this to be fast. And remember what I was saying about the burns? If the guys have repeated lives, as you said earlier, Dylan, could the burns be, like, part of the disease? Or, like a consequence of repeating life so many times? Because Eve seems to have the biggest burn out of all of them. Isaac may have a burn, but his eye seems completely fine. The burned part of his eye seems completely fine. Like, if you look at the pupil, it doesn't look any different. I mean, okay, the other pupil's hiding from his other eye, so we don't really know, but we see it, like, in some panels, like, halfway. So it looks fine to me. So it's interesting that Eve has the illness, probably because she is holding Genesis Omega Dragon. So I guess Sora, being a naive kid, just kind of, like, learning what's happening. And I'm really liking that Sora and Ren are kind of this bonding thing. I don't know, I kind of want to see more of them together. And this probably means Sora is going to duel, because I feel like if we're gonna have a Sora and Yuri rematch, because I'm pretty sure Yuri, if Sora ever runs into Yuya, Yuri's not gonna let that kid go after humiliating him. We know Yuri, he's vicious, so that's gonna be great to see. And now we have the new character, Isaac. I didn't, like, last chapter, I wasn't thinking he, like, that scientist, because he was the one who was at Sora and Ren last chapter, was gonna mean anything, but I should have, because he has a burn. I should have known he was something. So he is a doctor, and Eve has an illness. She seems to be, like, a very sympathetic villain. These villains... I don't think I'm gonna call them villains. They're just antagonists because they don't seem like they want to do anything to destroy the world as Yuya claims. What do they want to do? Get eternal life? I mean, sure, that's like something that humans shouldn't have. I know there's so much morality in that, but you know, it's not like they're trying to hurt anyone. I mean, Ren was concerned about Yugioh, right? He could have just let Yugioh die, right? He could have in the Mindscape. You know, he was concerned. Of course, they were dueling. He couldn't really stop, you know, the Devo to go and get Yugioh. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So these villains aren't evil. Okay, my Sora may be a little crazy, but then again, I think I consider Sora probably the craziest of them all because he's a kid.
I just also wonder, because you made a really good point. I didn't think about that maybe there's a disease that the group has or something like that. You wonder if Sora's sister was in that group and she succumbed to that illness.
Yes, maybe that's why he's fighting for her. And because she seemed to be in a hospital bed. She didn't have a burn on her. Maybe that's an age thing, because Sora is like the only kid of this group, so maybe that's why he doesn't have one. Or maybe he's just been here recently. Maybe that's why. Maybe Mew was originally part of this group. Maybe Mew had like a psychic power or some other kind of thing. That's a very good point, Dylan. I never thought about that.
Well, I never thought about it in terms of the whole disease, so it works.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I don't get how eternal life would, you know, bring back your sister, but you never. I mean, the freaking cards acronym is God. It could do anything.
It has the power to alter the future? Isn't that the?
It has the power. I believe it's the power to repeat lives, alter the. It could just do anything.
Yeah, so
let's just
I'm
say
sure
it
it
has
could
the power
revive her.
about
Yeah.
Time manipulation is what I'm gonna call it, because you know, we're immortal lives, like making maybe time for a person doesn't stop, repeating lives. You know, I'm just gonna say it as time manipulation. That's all I'm just gonna say. It gets a little easier. Mm-hmm. And Isaac, when I first saw the Raw, I was thinking at first that maybe they're related, but there is a guy named Adam. There is a guy named Adam. Because Isaac mentions him by name, and it's not Ren, because Eve mentions Ren by name. So Ren's identity, maybe Ren has a whole bird on his face, maybe that's why he's hiding it or something. I don't even know, because I thought Ren could be Adam and just hiding his identity from the public for some reason. But no, it's not. They're separate people. So who is this Adam guy? I mean, if we go by the Bible, Eve and Adam were lovers, So, and Isaac calls Eve beautiful, and she's saying she's ugly. Maybe Isaac has I'm a shipper, so maybe. I don't know, maybe he has some romantic feelings or some familial feelings. Maybe they're siblings. You never know, because he was holding her hand comfortably to try to comfort her. And I'm just loving Eve. I thought she was going to be completely different.
What was Isaac's role in the Bible? Do you remember?
Isaac was a son of Abraham, who was the one that was going to be sacrificed to God.
Okay.
And remember, he says, I will give up my life to make sure your wish comes true.
Right, that's how it ends. That's how the scale ends, yeah.
Yeah, well, no, there's a Ren line, but because Ren's going off to probably fight Yuya. But, you know, like, that,
right.
The Bible could actually be a very good, interesting of how the characters are going to go. There is no Ren in the Bible, but there is an Adam and Eve, of course. But what could be the devil? Could Genesis Omega Dragon be corrupting Eve? Because she's not really a villain. Then again, Zone wasn't a villain. I mean, if she gets corrupted, I don't know. And I think the theory that she's a future Yuzu has kind of gone out the window. I don't think she is anymore. Unless Yuya is somehow Adam. I just don't think it doesn't make sense. I mean, then again, Zone was technically a future Yusei, if you want to call it that.
He was supposed to be, but then I think they chickened out of the idea, honestly.
Yeah, so we never know, but I think I love that we're seeing more of her in terms of her artwork, but she is drawn beautifully. She is gorgeous. She says she's ugly. Pff, she's gorgeous. She's amazing. She's beautiful. I love this villain. I'm in love with her. But yeah, and then so that's gonna be interesting. I can't wait to see more of Eve. I hope we're gonna see more of her just interacting with her. I want to see her interact with Sora. And another thing I found interesting, if Eve is like friends with all these people, why is Ren calling her the word mistress? I can understand the word lady, but why the word mistress? Why? Because that's usually like you're an underling term, but it seems like Eve, she is the head honcho, but she seems to care about everyone. So what is that? Is that just a Ren thing? That he's a nobility, he has to call her that? Is that a Ren thing? Because Sora doesn't seem to call her that, or Isaac. So it's just too many questions we don't know. And we have the next chapter is most likely going to be a Yuya. Yugioh. I want a Yugioh Yuya team up because we haven't had that yet versus Ren. And it seems like they're going to be dueling in a circular course, and Ren's using one of his other duels that's small, so I'm guessing it's going to be a circular course because. But then again, he's looking out for Yuya, but why wouldn't he duel Yuya with his full strength, with his regular runner? Like, why wouldn't he? That doesn't make sense.
Right.
Like I don't think he's gonna find Reiji, because Reiji seems to be in freaking other country space, whatever. I don't know. Could he be looking for someone else? Could he just be scouting? I mean, it doesn't seem like he's ready to duel. He's putting on his glove, sure, and he's riding a smaller D-wheel. Maybe it's more built for speed. You never know. But I love this chapter. I rambled on it for probably a long time, probably like 8 or 10 minutes. But, you know, it's my favorite chapter now, so I kind of have to. And I guess I'll say this here because it'll be announced on my channel on Saturday when I'm... because of lack of interest, Zexal's not going to happen, guys. I'm really disappointed about that, but I'm going to be dubbing this chapter, though, and probably the little arc after this, depending on how it goes, because if they are riding in a circle, that'll be a little bit easier to audio edit. But yay, I get to dub my favorite chapter, and you guys get to hear more of my manga stuff. Aren't you all happy? Because you all want more Arc-V, and you keep asking me for it. Well, I'm giving it to you, because that was always the backup plan if Zexal didn't work out, so... But I'm happy I found something where, like, all the characters are in it, and I just can't wait to fight with freaking Shingo as Yuzu, and be great as Eve, and give her, like, my own take on her, because, you know, I get to be, like, develop her in, like, my own voice way. It's gonna be super cool, but that's all my thoughts on this chapter. Do you have anything else to add, Dylan, before we get to the question?
I really don't. I think it would be interesting if you talk about how maybe he's scouting someone. Wouldn't it be interesting? I don't think this will happen. I don't want to start any speculation if he goes and duels Jack Atlas or someone, and they actually do have legacy characters. I don't think they would do that. No. I'm gonna say no too. I hope they don't do that, but
no.
We'll see.
What if he duels Dennis? What if he duels Dennis?
I guess he did ride.
Oh yeah,
D-wheels,
one more thing. One thing. If we're gonna go to scoring, I guess because I know usually it attacks me to score. This is a 10 out of 10, but I think Zoids wants me to say the 0 out of 10 because Dennis didn't show up and I really he would.
For me,
I guess I know he wants to play him. I mean, I'm fine with it because if Dennis shows up as like a yugioh aid, I prefer that in terms of a plot point for him anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I hope Dennis shows up too. For me, I'd probably give it like a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10 personally. Solid chapter. And now we're going to get to the fan question, right? And then wrap things up.
Yep. Alright, this question is kind of reverting back to the U-Boy question. What do you guys think is going to happen to the U-Boys in the end, in terms of how they're going to actually disappear? Will they actually disappear for good? Will they just be in Yuya's mind, unable to come out of his body? What do you think's going on with that? And do you think the manga will be able to deliver some powerful death scenes? And Dylan, what is your answer?
And hopefully you guys...
It's a hard question, I know.
It's a multi-part question. Hopefully you guys answer down below. Be featured in the next video. So I think that they will die. I think their order, I think you actually hit it on the head. I think it'll be Yugioh, Yuri, and Yuto in that order. Yugioh first, because he already has the most backstory, and he's been written very well. And I think Yuto last, because Yuto was first in the anime, so, you know, give us more Yuto at least, that we kind of didn't have in the anime. But then again, I guess some people could argue that we had plenty of Yuto because it was through Yuya, and I guess this is kind of the same way, but you guys hopefully know what I mean. I think by the end of the manga, honestly, they're all going to be alive and they're all going to be in their separate bodies. I think that one picture they showed when the city was getting destroyed and all three of them were in their separate bodies, and Yuya and Yugioh were friends in the past. I think when Yuya gets his hands on Genesis Omega Dragon, he's gonna go back to that future, kind of similar to what happened in Zexal when...
Or he could just revive them and then we'll have a big emotional scene. Maybe we'll have a 4-boy U-boy duel for like the last duel of the show. I mean, manga.
Yeah, I mean, that would be really, really cool. And so I think that's how it's going to end. As for powerful death scenes, they definitely could have one. It's tough because with the anime, you have voice acting, you have music, and those are two...
But I could dub it and make your opinion change.
That's true. But you know what I mean. I mean, like, you know, just initially reading it. I think they can get there, especially because they don't have much to fight with. The Yuto death scene was decently good. The Yugioh scene was absolutely hogwash, and the Yuri scene wasn't...
Yuri at least went down kind of respectfully, I guess.
Yeah.
Just like make it quick or something. I mean, we have to see how the anime ends, but I mean, we're gonna get some angsty talking about death with the Shun and Yuya duel, so I hope we're gonna get something.
That show needs that episode maybe can save the show. I mean, I don't know.
Let's hope so. I mean, it's Nopi Lobo animation.
Yeah, so it'll be good.
And we have a Dark Side of Dimensions animator for Dennis versus Yuya, so this we're getting maybe like they're saving all the good animators for the last few episodes.
Yeah, we'll see how that ends. But all right, so that's my opinion. That's my opinion on it.
I think I actually really do agree with you. I think they are gonna fade probably permanently. It would be, I think what would be interesting is that there is a point where Yuya goes into his mind, maybe trying to find memories or something, and the Atom Factor maybe corrupts him. You know, like, maybe there is a berserk mode in the manga, and that's what kills the U-boys off. Now, that would be a little cheap, but just think about the devastation Yuya would feel if he just realizes that, or maybe he even forgets about the U-boys entirely. I mean, memory is a big thing in this manga, right? He just forgets them, like, who is Yugo? I only had you two. Or maybe just Yuto at the one, maybe he forgets Yuri. I just think that would be really powerful, like this amnesia thing, and then Yuya will be all alone and not know what to do. And it'll be really depressing. But then again, they haven't shied away from manga ink, so that'll be just more fun to explore over the next 2 or 3 years of this manga, which I am long happy this is not gonna go away anytime soon, because with the Arc-V anime ending, I fell in love with the characters, and of course me dubbing the manga, giving you guys some good content, and it's really what I do. So I'm just really happy this manga is not ending. And I get to keep doing these reviews with you, Dylan, because this is our 5th review, and I just love doing with these every month. I'm pretty sure our viewers like seeing them as well. Us talking about probably Arc-V after it ends as well, so that's what I have to say.
Yeah, I'm glad you came on, Rarity, and thank you to everyone who tuned in and listened. That is right, our 5th manga scale review. Started doing these at 14, and so looking forward to the future. And yeah, we still got a lot of Arc-V manga left, even though the anime is wrapping up. We can kind of live through Arc-V with these manga characters, even though obviously they are pretty different, but still same designs and whatnot. So, you know, at least we still have Arc-V to some degree. And in the anime,
well, semi-same design.
Yeah, and in the anime world, we have Varanes, which I know a lot of people are happy about. So, Yu-Gi-Oh, you know, it's looking good. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please answer the question. Leave any thoughts on your opinions. Leave any of your opinions, I meant to say, down below in the comment section. Have a great day. Thank you for watching. I will talk to you guys down below.